some of the inherent challenges that your program faces with one game between Navy and Army? It's unique, and there's only one game in between.
Yeah, there aren't. I think, the challenges that we have are just how talented these guys are. I mean, you don't score 40-some points at Colorado, who's ranked 17th in the country, without being loaded, or score 31 points against Boise State. And and I don't want to say they should be, because I think that's too arrogant to say it, which it is, but clearly this is a very, very capable football team. I mean, you go all the way through the quarterback, how well he moves, how well he throws the ball. Obviously, the punt returner receiver is as good as there is in the country in terms of that kind of combination. The defensive end has 11 or 12 sacks, 14 tackles for losses, and he's been there for a long time. We'd love to have a guy be in our program for that long a time, and it's just they are such a difficult matchup for us, and we could multiply our collective by 1,000, multiply it by 1,000, and we aren't going to catch theirs. Truthfully, and we said, don't be so candid. Well, that's the fact.
You've faced some pretty good Jay Norvell offenses dating back to his time at Nevada, put a lot of guys in the league at that stop. How close is he to building the type of offense and the talent of offense that he had during those days?
Yeah, they're there. You look, the receiver that was able to come with them, the way they were able to handpick a good number of those linemen that also came with them, in addition to adding two. They had the one lineman, that was from Pomona that was going to go there, and then he changed and went to CSU. Now his brother's here, but they're there. You look at how well they've played defensively over the last year and a half, and this year how explosive they are on offense. And it's just, for us to play, there's a difference. There really is, when you take the field and in a good number of activities with them.
You talked about the receiver that came with him, Torrey Horton, one of the best possibly in the country. What makes him so difficult to kind of defend?
Well, I think if you're strong, you're really agile with short area quickness, you have tremendous ball skills, you have immense acceleration, you have versatility that goes beyond playing receiver, maybe you have punt returns for touchdowns. I hope I covered a few of them without being long-winded.
What did you think about Zach's performance on Saturday? Obviously, he's dealing with a injury, and how do you think he's recovering?
Yeah, hung in there really, really well, and I thought our team did, as a whole too. And certainly, it's a completely different challenge that we face this week, and that's putting it mildly when you say challenge.
Could you be more specific on what exactly is challenging about CSU?
I just listed it, right? Just how it's a loaded operation. It truly is, and I mean that with nothing but regard in every way that they operate. The amount that they've put into their program. How darn talented they are in terms of the football players that they have. And you're taking one school, like I don't know how many guys we've had drafted in the history of the school in the first 4 or 5 rounds, where I know they've had a bunch, and they got a bunch that are playing for them right now. They're going to be good draft picks.
Is that, it's obviously it's not your concern whether they win or lose, but is that maybe what makes them so threatening? Because you look at their roster, it's so good, yet they've had lapses in games in which, they, I don't want to say collapsed, but just didn't finish the job or, start off good.
I never saw once I never saw them do that once. What game did you say in particular would that happen?
You look at the Boise State game, it took them a while to get going, and then they got going, and they scored a lot of points, in the fourth quarter. I'm just talking, I guess maybe from a consistency level.
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite in a position where we need to be throwing boulders and pebbles, and we're just. I don't know. I mean, I've never known anybody that's the exact same spot down after down. I mean, just the respect that we have for them, the way they operate, the quality of the school, just everything. Like I said, I mean, it's a very, very difficult, tremendous challenge.
From a pass coverage standpoint, that's one thing you haven't been challenged regularly this year in that area that much because of your schedule. A lot of running teams. First of all, is CJ Boyd out? And if so, how does that complicate what is already an immense challenge in that department?
Yeah. Now I will say this: the second half when we played here against Utah State, that ball went around the yard a little bit. It's so hard to recreate and practice, and just to have 4 receivers or to have a tight end with that kind of size and that kind of mobility because he's outstanding. For a guy like that to come over from BYU and have him, I think that's a huge part of it in terms of what we face.
Does it change the way you've built a defense to stop the run, create havoc in the backfield. With a team like this, do you have to take some pieces away from that to help in coverage, or do you find the best way to attack it is to stick with what you are?
No, every game's different, and I think you build your system, even going back to spring ball, and then what you practice during August, for different personnel groupings, for different styles of play. So I think each one's different. Each game is, and so I think this game certainly has its own matchup.
You mentioned Mo Camara, their edge rusher. What is he doing that gets to the quarterback? Like, how would you describe him as a pass rusher?
If I don't have many adjectives or whatever it may be, very strong, extremely experienced, quite explosive, tremendous with his hands, great feet, proven production. I mean, we've seen some really good ones in this league. I don't know if we've seen one that has more capability that way than he has, and proven production.
With Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, he doesn't have a whole lot of rushing yards, doesn't really get out of the pocket and run. Is that rare these days in college football with the RPOs and trying to get guys on the run that he sticks in the pocket, eyes down the field, and commits that much to throwing the ball downfield?
Yeah, he does do that very, very well, but he does a tremendous job of buying himself time, and he does hurt you with it, with his legs. You think of their their third game of the season. They played west of Denver about 30 minutes, and he really, really created some problems with getting out of the pocket with some runs, in addition to buying more time in the off-design plays. I mean, his mobility is very impressive.
We've heard you talk about a lot of the physical mismatches you guys face. Do you feel like, we're going to talk to Bo Richter today. It's going to be hard to mismatch with Bo Richter because of his size. Your offensive line and the interior is all 300 pounds plus. Like, do you feel like maybe that gap is closing a little bit, but then you see like a Torrey Horton and there's still maybe an open field mismatch you face?
Yeah, I mean, you could say, hey, we're close to 285 pounds up front. Maybe you've gained a little bit, but I'm not so sure that as you're gaining a little bit, there's not some pretty massive leaps being made by others too. Specifically with Bo, he has worked incredibly hard just on his development. In addition, obviously with Coach Matt McGettigan and our strength staff, what they do too.
And, obviously I realize you take it practice by practice, week by week, but as you look, being 7-0, the attention the program's getting, are there any advantages that you're gleaning from that already, or is it just what happens over the next week, 2 weeks?
It has nothing to do with how we practice today. And it doesn't. I mean, regardless of what your record is, if you have maturity, then you're living in the current, in the moment, in the sense that our guys know that we have to get better. And what's neat, though, we have guys that are eager to learn, and I think that's a good trait. I think for as long as you live, if every one of us says, hey, let me see what else I can discover where I can get a little better and what else I can digest. Being a lifelong learner is a good trait to have, and I just that's who we are.
Does Colorado State, do you butt up against them in recruiting very often?
You know, sometimes. I mean, obviously, we have a good number of Colorado guys, too. And so once in a while, yes, sir. Not often, though.
Do you sense that it means something to, obviously you have a very nationally based roster, but is there still something about an in-state game that means something to at least the in-state guys or maybe everybody else as they get,
we try to go so hard on trying to work on Air Force. Now, do we recognize we're playing a really, really highly, highly capable team? We do. And yet that's a credit to Colorado State, and in our own way, you've heard me say this. I mean, we're lucky to live in this state and to have two strong FBS university playing universities in the state. And we want to be competitive too, Now, can we do that? Maybe, maybe not, but we'd like to.
Are you guys able to enjoy being 7-0, being ranked, all that stuff, or is it such a hyper focus on what's ahead of you?
It's kind of the hyper focus. It's good after a game to enjoy the game, but right when we go into the next week, that Sunday, that Monday, we're focused on the next week. It's cool to have that pass behind you, but the pass isn't going to help you win that next game.
And, looking at this matchup, looking over the last 15 years or so, Air Force has dominated it. Why do you think that is? You've been a part of a few of these games. Why has this gone in your favor when you look, individual talent? Maybe it wouldn't look like that, but that's the way it's played out.
A Colorado game just within a state, it's always going to be a big competition for us. So it's one of those games that we really focus up in practice. We know it's going to be a tough game sometimes, or most of the time.
How you doing, Caleb? I know you guys have all kinds of goals. Is one of the goals just kind of having bragging rights within the state when you play a team like CSU?
Without a doubt. It's something that comes straight from high school. You want to be the best team in your state, and it goes right into college. A lot of different teams have that interstate conflict or competition, and we have the same thing with CSU.
What did you think of Zach? I mean, I knew he hurt himself a little bit in the Wyoming game. Do you think he's back to himself, or did you notice anything that maybe could be concerning at all?
Zach's one of those people are always going to put 100% in. So even with the rehab, the short rehab that he had got before this game, and just working in practice, he's always going to give his 100%. Whether if he's not 100% truly, he's going to put it all out. So I think he's going to be just fine.
How did you think he performed now on Saturday?
I think this past game was one of my tougher ones, and I didn't perform at all like I wanted to. There's a lot of things that I wanted to improve, such as my pad level, and that hurt us and me in the offensive line. So I definitely need to improve that for this next week coming up.
What about Zach's performance as well this past Saturday, and also Colorado State's defense? What have you seen from them?
Mm-hmm. Just looking this past week, sometimes if the ball or rushing doesn't work, having the ability to throw the ball, Zach crushed it this week. Having a person that can make big-time plays like that is always nice to have on your team, someone that you can lean on, because it's a team sport. Sometimes you can't do it all yourself. Having someone like that is always the best. And looking at CSU, they have a bunch of individual players that are amazing, and they work well as a team. And that's the thing that we see with them every single year. They have a bunch of talent, so we're going to have to really focus up for that.
You mentioned your self-assessment of the way that you played against Navy. That relationship that you guys have on the offensive line, do you feel like you can go to Thor or somebody else and say, hey, man, I don't think that you did this? Can they come to you? Like, what is that kind of dynamic with you guys on the offensive line about evaluating each other?
Without a doubt. I think we're very close to the offensive line and the unit cohesionness that we have. The ability to take feedback, give feedback. We're just trying to make each other better. There's no harsh intent when we tell each other what you have to do or what to improve. And our coach is the same way with that. He'll be honest with that with the feedback and the technicality of footwork and pad level and all that comes into it. We're honest with each other, and we don't take it with a grain of sand or a grain of salt. We just truly take it to heart.
As you look at you guys up front overall, are you where you thought you would be, or how much more improvement is there left for you guys? How much better can you get as a unit?
We have a lot to improve on. Every week we have individual goals that we set in the beginning of the season. This past week we did not hit our rushing goal at all. We want to be over 300. So that's something that we got to focus on just from the past week. And every week they bring new challenges, new things that we focus on. So there's a lot to improve on.
A little bit of a simplistic question. Because you guys run so much, does that kind of eliminate their talent on defense a little bit? Because they're talented in a sense of like getting to the pass rusher. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, yes, sir. I don't think it eliminates their talent at all. With rushing offense, there comes new opportunities for defenses to shine and new opportunities for them to show their talent. With ability to shed blocks or fill gaps or fill holes, they could show in that way.
What do you know about Mo Kamara? You know, the outside linebacker, defensive end. Have you faced him personally in the past?
In the past, yeah.
What about his skill set stands out to you? And I don't know if you've had much time to study him yet for this year, but from what you know of him, what stands out?
Good player, tough. He's very tough, hard to hit, chase the ball. He's just an all-around good player.
And God, totally forgot. In terms of physical, you know, how you guys physically match up with most people now. You know, traditionally, you know, when I started covering this team, Air Force had like 240-pound tackles. It's changed a lot in the matter of 12 years. Do you sense you guys are physically outmatched anymore, or have you pretty much closed that gap?
No. I think physicality, it doesn't compare to weight as much. We still are pretty underweight for an offensive line, and I think the weight does help, but I don't think it's the major factor with physicality. It's all mentality. So it's the people that you have as the offensive line. I think there's always going to be a gap in every different game because each defensive offensive line is different mentality-wise.
And what are you playing at weight-wise?
Right now I'm like 270.
Okay. Could you be playing it, or are you choosing to play at this weight because of a certain advantage you gain?
No. Me personally, I just have a tough time gaining weight. I don't know if it's just my body's metabolism or just the amount that I run. I'm not sure. It's been a challenge since the prep school, though, at the academy here.
Okay. And then back to the original question about being 7-0. How are you resisting the temptation, or are you, of looking at, okay, this could happen, this, you know, we're at this point in the conference, all of the things that go with where you guys are at?
I think it's easy not to look into that because I just don't like losing. I like to win, and every week I want to win. So if I focus on that long record, it's not going to help that next week, and that ability or that chance to lose is always there.
Okay. When you see a bowl projection of you guys in the Peach Bowl or something like that, you're not even seeing that?
I don't look into that, no. No, I'm good. I'm all good. I'll stay off social media.
Caller, go ahead. Colton, are you on? Yes, I am. Just wanted to ask, just because you guys talked about your cohesion with your offensive line, I'm curious just if you could speak to a little bit of the timing you guys have to have, because it seems like just all the time you guys are exactly where you need to be at the exact right moment, whether it's on, you know, like you're pulling or you're going to the second level. So I'm just curious how important that aspect is.
That's extremely important. One of the things that we try to eliminate in our offensive line is missed assignments. We call them MAs. So after every practice, after every game, we watch a lot of film. And that's one thing that the academy has to offer is we're able to have a lot of reps in practice. So that's one of the first things that we try to eliminate as the offensive line is your missed assignments. And getting older in this program, that's one of the first things that you focus on.
And I guess I'm not entirely sure what your thoughts were when you're considering the place you wanted to go after high school, but just is Air Force just kind of the perfect place to be, in this offense as an offensive lineman? Like, is that just something that you look forward to being able to be in an offense like this for the position that you play?
I think so. Here, tackles, they get to run around a lot. Other schools, you have to be a lot heavier, a lot taller. So I think I fell into place where I was meant to be. I get to run around. My body doesn't allow me to be as heavy as some other guys, so I think it's perfect for me.
And lastly, just what is the dynamic like off the field with that group? Just what are those guys like personality-wise?
They're awesome. They're my brothers. All the guys on the offensive line, that they're really close to me, and we always have each other's back.
Being 7-0 and everything you guys have accomplished, is there any part of you that's able to enjoy that and soak that in, or is that detrimental to moving forward?
I think it's a combination of probably both of those answers. It's awesome to be 7-0, but I think we're just like aware of the consequences for soaking into that moment a little too much. So we're focused on the next game really, and then our whole thing is we can soak it in when the season's over. So, and if we start soaking it in now, it'll probably lead to us not being able to soak it in towards the end. So we got the end goal in mind.
And then, playing a team that chucks the ball around so much as a pass rusher, what you do, like, is this an extra exciting week because the opportunities will be there?
Yeah, that was going to be my answer. It just presents it's a week of opportunity for sure for our position, for the edge guys in the defensive line. And it comes with a little pressure too. It's like, if we're going to be successful, we're going to need to get after their quarterback, and they got a lot of new guys on their offensive line. They've done a really good job protecting their quarterback. So we just got to do our best to get him off his spot and doing our thing.
Not that you don't get excited for a Navy or Army game where they're going to run a lot, but does this game maybe give you a little more juice because of the potential of getting to the passer, and getting that rush?
Yeah, I absolutely love pass rushing. Is just it's incredibly fun. It's like most teams you're working hard on first and second down to get to third down so you can have an opportunity to rush the passer. And a team like this where they're just getting it all over the yard, it's just there's an opportunity everywhere. So excited to get after it.
I know you guys have a lot of goals. Is beating Colorado State one of those just for purely state bragging rights?
Yeah, the Colorado Trophy means a lot to us. We're not playing the Buffs this year, at least in the regular season, but it means a lot. Being the best team in the state, it definitely means a lot. But every week brings its aspects of importance.
What kind of challenges does Colorado State's offense got to bring to you guys? Obviously, they got a talented receiver, tight end, and quarterback.
Yeah, every year it kind of seems like they just have a load of NFL talent on their team, and it was the same way last year with their tight end and the same receiver. It's similar every year, and it's just how can we contain those threats? So they definitely do present a challenge to us. Open field tackling against athletes in space, it'll all be important. So it definitely presents its challenges.
Do you see any similarities between like the Wyoming game and this game, kind of defensively, kind of how you guys need to get after the quarterback and stop their skill position players?
I think in terms of importance, it's right there with Wyoming. I think that their schemes are very different. Wyoming loves to run the ball. They love to get 2-3 tight ends on the field, whereas Colorado State a lot of times they'll have one tight end on the field or zero, and then just they're gonna throw the ball a lot. So it's a similar challenge, but it's a different challenge. But a challenge nonetheless.
What has getting Peyton back meant to you guys defensively? How does he kind of tie everything together?
It's a privilege to have him back for sure. He's a phenomenal player. It doesn't really change a whole lot for position wise, but it's just it's another guy who can. He's incredibly powerful, so he'll stop the run like nobody else. But at the same time, he's super twitchy and quick, and he gets after the passer really well. So being able to have an interior pass rush threat, which we've had, but just another block to that is it's huge. Getting the quarterback off the spot from the interior and from the edge. Eventually, we're gonna get some action on the quarterback. So it's just another facet.
How much better do you think you guys can get as a defense from where you've been this season?
I mean, there's a ton of areas to improve. There's, we've had success. Really, the past 3 full seasons, we've had a really successful defense, but we're far from perfect. So we have a ton to work on, and I think there's the ceiling is far away. So I think there's a ton of areas we can improve on for sure.
Bo, I'm going to pick your words just a little bit. You said you're not playing the Buffs during the regular season, but there's a chance perhaps maybe in a bowl game. Is that something you would like to have happen?
Anybody's. We're on the market for anybody. We want to do the best we can. I definitely pick my words a little bit. I was just saying that we definitely won't play them in the regular season. The only chance we could have is playing them in the postseason. It absolutely is possible, but everybody's open. I'd love to play the best team we can in the biggest bowl we can. That's our goals.
Kind of off of that, then. I mean, I guess it would be human nature when you're 7-0 to think, man, if we run the table, we could play in a New Year's Day bowl. Do you look at that at all?
Yeah, when I was doing the ESPN interview last week, and they asked me a really similar question, and I'll give you the same answer. Like I hear some guys talking about, like when we go 7-0, when we go undefeated, if we go undefeated, and all that stuff is just distraction in my mind. I said the same thing. If we lose 3 games and go 10-3, anything's possible. Nobody cares what it looked like halfway through the season. So it's moving on to every week. Like I said, our goals are to win every game. Our goals are to perform as best as we can and achieve the best we can. But our eyes are set in the present, not in the future right now.
When you kind of assess CSU and so they always have a load of NFL talent, do you feel like the physicality or the physical attributes you guys have maybe closed the gap a little bit just in the time you've been here? I know in my time it's happened a lot. You guys have gotten a lot closer. Do you feel like you guys are closer physically to them now?
I think that, especially with our recent success, I think that we're pulling in, all the guys that we want to get out of high school to come here. It seems like we get those guys, especially in recent years. Like we get guys coming on officials and where it used to be a huge competition between Army and Navy. Now it seems like we've kind of closed the gap there. So we're getting the athletes that we want out of high school. I think that we have great talent here. I think we've had great talent here. And I think a lot of times that gets overlooked being a service academy sometimes is the talent we do have. But yeah, I mean, I don't look at any team and think, man, like, I know our coaches sometimes kind of try to say like their athletes are better than ours, this and that. They had offers from these schools, our guys didn't. I think that we absolutely have the talent all over the place, and we can compete with anybody.
Well, and a big part of that is obviously what you guys do with your own bodies once you're here, and you're probably as good an example of anybody. Like, what do you do in the weight room? Because your appearance during your time here has changed dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of good work in with Coach Getty, and during the off season, sometimes we just kind of get left to our own tendencies. And guys here love to work, so we get a lot of guys, especially coming out of basic training, that lose a lot of weight, and that's a big reason why it's tough to play as a freshman here, because your body almost develops opposite of how you want it to. The second you get here, you're not you're doing a lot of like stressful, like almost like CrossFit exercise during basic training. And then you don't really get into weightlifting until after all that. So you kind of take one step back and then start taking steps forwards, which can be good. You kind of clear off a lot of the the bad aspects of your body. Guys lose a lot of fat during basic training, but guys work really hard here in the off season, and it shows for sure. Right? We got a lot of power, especially on the interior. Like I told you last week, we're it's a powerful group, and it's it's from hard work in the off season, 100%.
Yeah, and personally for you, like, has your body just been really receptive to the work you've done? Like, or is there something special you've been able to do to get these kind of gains?
I mean, I don't think it's anything special. The recipe is not it's not a surprise to anyone. You got to put in the work, and diet is a huge thing, and it was a little bit more of a challenge for me last year in the off season. I was just meal prepping at one of my teammates' sponsor houses. So we would go there on Sunday and just make like 20 pounds of chicken breast and chicken thigh, and then a bunch of rice and greens, and just eat it throughout the week. And now I'm lucky enough, my mom lives here in the Springs, so I can get a lot of food at home. But feeding we definitely we have all the food that we need up there at Mitch's, but sometimes more and maybe a little bit tastier food is a little bit more helpful. So getting out there and kind of doing it yourself on top of working out's a huge part of it, but a diet is a huge part of it. So we have a committed group that's like me as well. Like we try to eat good and it feeds the process.
And then last thing, what kind of challenge are you guys going to face, as you're in the thick of the race and everything else that's going on? Because you are here, you still have all the outside things, the military stuff, the workload with school. Like, how much is that going to complicate what you have going forward?
I think, there's a positive and a negative to that. There's obviously more work, but at the same time, it'll definitely keep you grounded. We're not getting any special privileges up there on the hill with the cadet wing just because we're winning football games. We're still doing what we've always done, and work wins, like we always say. So we're gonna keep our nose to the grindstone and keep working. And it definitely there's stuff that we have to do up there, but that's what we've always done. So that's all we know, and we're gonna keep working, and that's what we are. That's who we are.
Well, I got one more for you. I'm sorry. With you being a senior, obviously, I'm assuming you're thinking of your future. Do you think coaching is in your future at all?
I've definitely thought about it. Sometimes I find myself in meetings like writing stuff down that's not necessarily about our game plan. Just kind of thinking like maybe someday I'm coaching my kids or coaching a high school team somewhere. I don't think college coaching is in my future. I'm not pursuing the graduate assistant spot here. I really love this program, and I absolutely, football is my passion. So I can definitely see myself coming back to it later down the road. But in the near future, I don't think so. But maybe down the road.